Hello everyone, the title of this video is Seeking, Finding and Recreating Alliances. And this is a sequel to my previous video on the Sun-Alicanto conjunction, which occurred on the 16th of May, and I posted it on the 14th. So if you are interested in the topic and you haven't seen it yet, it's advisable to watch it first and then watch this one. It's going to be a little bit lengthier because between the 18th and 20th of May, a number of conjunctions occur that are quite revealing. And the prelude of the whole process was the Sun-Alicanto conjunction. The sun always illuminates and highlights everything it touches, also fills it with energy and consciousness. Alicanto is the ETNO, extreme TNO of greed. It's a beautiful myth of this nocturnal bird in Chilean mythology, and it is actually linked to gold and silver, precious metals. And whenever this bird eats too much, it's unable to fly. And it really is a beautiful example of today's greed and enormous wealth is hoarded by certain individuals and certain huge global corporations, whereas the everyday people are struggling. It's worse and worse. So that was the prelude of the whole thing. This was the overture of the energy pattern of this May 18th to 20th. And let's take a look at what's happening. A number of things are happening. There are actually 4 conjunctions that are describing the space-time moment. So let me share with you the document I prepared. And these 4 conjunctions are Venus, Uranus, Sun, Jupiter, Mars, North Node, and Sun, Sedna. And if we take a look at their meaning, Venus, Uranus is always about freedom, urges, and commitment. This is something that Judy Hall taught 20 years ago. Venus wants to commit, wants to liaise, and Uranus wants to be free at all costs. If you have any Venus-Uranus aspects, you know what I'm talking about. If it's a square or an opposition or even a semi-square, then you do have difficulties regarding the issue. If it's a trine or a sextile or any of the minor aspects, a quintile or a septile, you do it. Nevertheless, it still may cause you dilemmas. The Sun, Jupiter, and by the way, Venus-Uranus conjunctions are also considered success aspects. So it actually brings you very successful changes regarding your financial situation. And the Sun-Jupiter is also a success energy, especially the conjunction, which denotes personal luck. Mars-North Node, on the other hand, describes a very courageous acceptance of our destiny. The North Node is the chosen destiny for this incarnation. It has been transiting Aries for a year. It will be there for another year. Actually, throughout this year, it will be there. And Mars, which is also in Aries in its own sign, is ruling the. We are going to look at the conjunction in a minute. And then the last one of these conjunctions is the Sun-Sedna conjunction, when the Sun moves into Gemini on the 20th around 2 o'clock London time. Like a couple of hours later, it will be exactly conjunct Sedna, which is at 0 degrees 18 at the moment. And Sedna denotes creation through dissection. So those are the issues. And as I said, the Sun-Alicanto conjunction precluded the whole thing, the whole process. And I really, truly hope that by the end of these couple of days, things will be more relevant and understandable and explainable for us everyday people. And the sheer dishonesty and horrible warmongering of the world leaders are going to be exposed. And I just hope that the common people will have a lot more common sense than their leaders. Our leaders at the moment, especially here in United Europe, that was a Freudian slip, because this is what they want to create. They want to create a united Europe, and then 2 united nations, the US and the European Union, can join and form a global conglomerate, a huge, giant, humongous thing, which will be totally anti-democratic and anti-human. So that's the plan that they are trying to put ahead of us. And quite interestingly, the first step will be the WHO agreement, which they want to sign around end of May. We are going to look at the date in question and see what it carries. And the biggest news is that so it looks like that England, Great Britain wants to be out of this agreement, so they won't be signing it. I just hope that a lot of nations realize what a horribly bad step it would be. Okay, let's take a look at the first chart that I prepared quite a lot for you this time, so we need to look at them in detail. The Venus-Uranus conjunction occurs on May 18th at 12:40 London, so right a little bit after noon. You can see that we are in a summer time because the sun is still coming up to a conjunction with the midheaven, but the Venus-Uranus is spot on the midheaven in the London chart. So this change, committed change, let's put it this way, is there in the future, which is brilliant. Trans-Pluto is rising on the Virgo ascendant, and the Trans-Pluto describes dimension jump. There is a quite tight Mars North-Node conjunction, which will be exact in 2 days. We are going to look at the chart in a minute. The Chiron-Aries conjunction in Aries will take a couple of weeks before it becomes exact. In the London chart, the vertex is on Pluto. The vertex describes a point of no free will. And Pluto, of course, is the plutocracy, the powers that be, the hidden power that manipulates the whole world. So this is what we are fighting against. But unless it showed, although now it started to blatantly show its true colors. I mean, when you have Klaus Schwab, who says that from now on, now that we have ChatGPT, we don't need elections because AI can tell actually what the people want, right? Wrong, horrible. And another interesting thing is that this whole process is being done while the moon is in Libra, the sign of diplomacy and balance. And at the moment, at this start, at the commencement of the energy, it is at 1 degree Libra, which is at actually it is conjunct the supergalactic center. And supergalactic center is one of the key celestial areas in karmic astrology, describing the dilemma of nothing is ever enough. And that is exactly what you see around yourself. Those who have amassed more and more wealth, and nothing is ever enough for them. And the general public is getting poorer and poorer, unfortunately. So that is what is happening at the Venus-Uranus conjunction. Freedom and commitment dilemmas are linked to it. There is a rose thorn. Actually, my older granddaughter named this. We spend a lot of time in the garden, and I have a couple of beautiful rose bushes, which I love. But roses are very ugly, nasty, not ugly, beautiful, but nasty flowers. The bushes actually are, because the thorns are always catching my hands or my clothes. And I looked at this particular, it could be also a veg, but look at it. It is a trine, and the two karmic aspects, the semisextile and the quincunx, the major and minor karmic aspects. So it's not like what we call an engine, because an engine is made up by 3 distinctly different planetary families, the trine, the square, and the quincunx, or instead of a trine, we have a sextile, a square, and a quincunx. Those are the engines. But in this case, we only have 2 families, the trine and the karmic aspects. So that's really a veg. Or I call it veg, but then my granddaughter said, well, it's like a rose thorn, really, because that is what it does. Yes, it edges into you, and it's beautiful like a rose, but it's also nasty like karmic aspects. Okay, so what do we have here? And I really didn't want to make up too much space and time. This is going to be a lengthier video. I apologize ahead because I have to show you at least 4 different charts. And in this case, I just put the transcendental objects just next to it. I sometimes do this and I have very little time. And to put together such a video, first of all, just to make the drawings and to put together at least the document takes about 5-6 hours, and then the video. So you can imagine it's really a lot of work. So I hope you appreciate it. Anyhow, so on the Venus-Uranus conjunction, which is on the midheaven, spot on. So actually there is a triple conjunction, Venus, Uranus, and midheaven, the future. You have Spartacus and Lempo. Again, color codes are as follows. The magenta or purple ones are asteroids. They orbit in the asteroid belt, which is located between Mars, the last personal planet, and Jupiter, the first destiny planet, and they describe the personal karmic past. They are magenta, and blue ones are TNOs, SDOs, Centaurs, ETNOs, whatever, Trans-Neptunians, which are all labeled centaurs in karmic astrology, just like planets are labeled planets. Even the sun and the moon are planets, where we perfectly know they aren't, but it's easier to refer to them. Those are blue. They are linked to our karmic wounds, which can turn into either phobias or special traits and talents. And then red ones are fixed stars, which are not part of the solar system. They are part of the universe, and they are higher dimensional worlds where we can also go to learn special traits, to heal from a difficult incarnation or to prepare for a difficult one. So Spartacus and Lempo. Spartacus was the leader of the slave revolt in Roman times, and it usually describes a situation which is unbearable. And although I know I might very well die in the process, I still need to revolt against. And Uranus is, of course, also a revolutionary planet. And Lempo is a Finnish god that used to be a creator god, but then in Catholic times it became a demon, so it became demonized. And this very often occurs, that a new ruler, a new era does away with the old gods. They demonize them, and so that's what's happening here. And on Aries, drastically altered outward circumstances, you have Requiem, unfortunately, and Cerberus, the guard dog of the underworld, so quite underworldly energies there. And the war is, of course, raging. All the wars that are at the moment going on are going on. And on Black Moon Lilith, you have Zero. Black Moon Lilith is the third turning point of the Lilith myth, describing knowledge, clairvoyance, knowing what I need to know, and having the ability and the courage to do what is necessary. And that is precisely what we need now. First of all, 99% of the population has no clue what is going on. They don't care. They are too overworked, too poor. They carry too many burdens, too big burdens in order to pay attention. And they just live from 1 minute to the next and try to get as much out of it as they can. And unfortunately, unless you know exactly what's going on, you won't be able to make an intelligent decision. And that is what Lilith signifies here. And with Zero, it means that we may have to start from scratch, unfortunately, if what the powers that be want to happen will happen, hopefully not. Now, this is an interesting Merkaba, a 6-pointed star. It is important every time it forms, because it's quite rare, because you have to have two grand trines which are intertwined with sextiles and oppositions, and energetically and also by degree they are quite rare. You usually have them when the angles are also involved, and this one is almost exact but dissociate, and some of the portions are aneretic. Dissociate means that they are not in the sign they are supposed to be, because one according to the aspect, because one planet is at the very end of the sign and the other planet is at the very beginning of the sign. So actually, a trine could end up energetically being a quincunx or a square. and the square could end up being a trine or a sextile. So they blur the original meaning of the aspect itself. So actually, these gates are opening, but it's like a rusty gate, so they are barely opening. It's like let's say you haven't gone to your weekend house for a year, and the gate is like rusty, and you're trying to push it open, and it squeaks and it's stuck. That's exactly what this Merkaba feels. That yeah, slowly the people are catching up and understanding what is happening around them, but not quite yet, because energetically it is not quite okay. And by the way, so that's dissociate, and energetic means that it's at the very end of a sign, and it means that it is getting stuck, as I said. Okay, let's take a look at what we have here. We have first of all the moon in Libra, Pallas Athena, which went actually back into Scorpio, so it became anaretic and retrograde. Pluto, which is not yet anaretic, it's at 2 degrees, at 1 degrees and something, but it will be anaretic the moment it goes back into Capricorn, which is not going to occur until October or so. But it is also moving backward. Neptune is anaretic at the very end of Pisces, and Sedna moved into Gemini a couple of weeks ago, and now is at 0 degrees 18, so barely in Gemini. And Astrea is again at the very end of Cancer, ready to move into Leo. Pallas Athena is wisdom. Pluto is power and transformation. Neptune is clairvoyance, but also smokescreen and pink fog and deceit. And Sedna is creation through dissection, and Astrea is the karma breaker, the destiny changer. So those are the participants, the players of this gate that is opening very rustily, very slowly, not very smoothly at all. Let's take a look at the transcendental objects. And what struck me with this particular one, and that gives me hope, is that each corner has a fixed star. And there are just 1 or 2 asteroids and only 2 centaurs as well. Both are TNOs, by the way. Let's take a look. On the moon, you have the supergalactic center. Nothing is ever enough. The dilemma of nothing is ever enough. On Pallas Athena, you have Ceto, toxic emotions, and Toliman. Toliman is the alpha star of the Centaur, the celestial Centaur, which is a southern constellation, Centaurus, and learning through pain. And actually, it's a healing word for all kinds of Chiron issues. And we know that toxic emotions do cause horrible wounds. Look around what's happening in the world. Look what's happening to Jews. I mean, for 70, 80 years, Jews were the people who we needed to shield, who went through a horrible time in German in the Second World War, and we were there for them to hear. And now we are committing the same crime. Look what's happening in the United States. Look at what's happening in big cities, which has a large Muslim population, how the people are turning against innocent Jews. I mean, if someone lives, let's say, in Stockholm or Brussels or London, what has or he or she got to do with anything that is going on in Gaza? I understand everyone's pain and everyone's rage, that people, especially women and children, are also dying. But this is not there's no reason to punish someone else he's not even there. I mean, the whole thing is really disgusting to me. Anyhow, so that's on Pallas Athena. And since Pallas Athena went back to Scorpio, it is filled with emotions, again, toxic emotions, and it's retrograde, so it won't be able to show its true wisdom. On Pluto, you have Altair, which is the alpha star of Aquila, the eagle, which is one of the shaman stars. So there's healing energy there. On Neptune, you have Sheat, beta Pegasus, which is the main healing world for suicide victims. And as we see, the whole world is suicidal, really. So it's like unbelievable what's happening, really. We could live in relative peace and relative well-being and well-to-do energies. We could actually have a nice life Instead, we are ruining it, and or even worse, allowing others to ruin it for us. Why? On Sedna, you have Terpsichore, which is one of the muses, the muse of dance. So you have a muse energy, which is channeling. There's also the TN of Mors Somnus, which is very prominent during the pandemic. Of course, Mors Somnus are the brothers, death and sleep. And as I said, they are very prominent and I have a hunch that they are trying to concoct something for us. We shall see. And the Pleiades, Sedna will be on the Pleiades for quite a while, actually for the next 2 years for sure. And the Pleiades is the word of the creator goddess. And on Astrea, you have the Sphinx, so secret, Egyptian mythology, and also all kinds of secrets. And Astrea is the karma breaker, so karma breaking secrets are there. And Aludra, which is Eta Ursa, not Ursa, sorry, Eta, what is serious? The big dog. What is it in Latin? Anyhow, so it's in the dog constellation, and it's the Eta star. It's quite bright actually. It's 2.4 in magnitude. So it's a very bright star. Those are bright energies there. Okay, so that's what this Anuretic Merkaba is. So the gates are opening, but very slowly and very rustily. The next step is the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, which is a couple of hours later. Again, just to remind you that the Venus-Uranus conjunction was at noon, a little bit after noon on the 8th or 18th. And then just 7 hours later, okay, 7.5 hours later, you have the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. The London time is 19:45 in the evening, and the sun is setting, of course, but there's still at least 2 hours before true sunset, 1.5 hours. This is the Venus-Uranus conjunction. This is the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. And on the midheaven, you have the two ladies with the First Lady role, okay, the two spouse energies, Trans-Pluto, who is linked to the Persephone legend and is Pluto's wife, and Juno, who is Jupiter's wife, the First Lady. So those are two women are leading, and as you can see, the same conjunctions are there. We have a Scorpio rising, so Pluto in the third is actually ruling the whole chart, and Chiron is ruling the midheaven in karmic astrology. Chiron is the ruler of Virgo. There is an Anuretic water earth kite. So anything we saw in the morning, except the moon's position, is still the same. Okay, so I'm not repeating myself. Now we are concentrating on the Jupiter Sun conjunction. And on Jupiter Sun, you have Lachesis, Lachesis, Lucifer, and Pelion. So Lachesis is the second of the fates who is measuring the fabric of your life. And Lucifer, the light bringer, who is questioning the authority and also the deeds of God. And with this, it is actually showing, indicating the beauty of God's deeds. And that's why we need Lucifer sometimes, so that we can understand that the created world is beautiful as it is. And we should actually like it as it is and not trying to recreate it. And Pelion is a centaur, and it represents the life, the mountain of life that we need to climb in order to succeed. And this is truly Anuretic because Australia is still at the very, very end of Cancer. Pallas Athena went back to Scorpio, and Neptune is at the very end of Pisces. So we have this water trine, which is then turned into a kite by the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. And I left Sedna there because the next protagonist will be Sedna in a minute. But before that, we will have, on May the 20th, in the small hours, we will have a Mars North-Node conjunction. And this is a very different chart from the previous one. You can see that the Taurus is rising with Venus exactly on the ascendant. Uranus-Venus is separating, but they are still quite close. And Jupiter-Sun is also separating, but they are still very, very close. And the Sun is moving towards Sedna. On the IC, you have Astrea. And on the descendant, you have Pallas Athena and Lilith, two strong, independent feminine. And on the midheaven, you have Ceres, the nurturing principle. And the vertex, the point of no free will, is on the. So this indicates that the Mars North Node conjunction, and as I said, it is something that we need to learn with the North Node in Aries. We have 1.5 years, on now only barely half a year, to learn to fight for what's ours, what's you, what we want, to learn how to self-assert, how to stand up for what's ours, and to fight for it. And Mars now is not only just ruling the North Node, but it also is conjunct it. So it's actually a very strong placement. And as the space-time moment describes, we actually have not too much free will if the moon represents the people, the masses. Because it is conjunct the vertex, and in the 6th house and in intercepted sign. So it's actually we are put into brackets. But then so is Mars Aries. So this could be that we are not learning from what we should learn. It's also in the 12th, so put away behind us, put into our bank safe, and also the keys just thrown away. So it's a very funny chart, very different from what I have for Budapest. If you are interested, of course it's in Magyar, so if you don't speak Magyar, you won't understand it. But you can actually look at the charts. You will learn a lot from the charts. It's a very different chart, a very different flavor. This one is kind of stuck in its energy. Okay, let's take a look what we have. We do have a mystic rectangle between the angles, and not too much to accompany the nodes with Mars. So I left it here. The only thing, if you pay attention, what is closing? So there's a mystic rectangle between the angles and Venus. There's also a cardinal T-square between MCIC and Aries, drastically altered out with the circumstances. And the only thing that links the opposition and the Mars North Node conjunction is the novile to Venus ascendant. And the novile is sacrifice. It denotes sacrifice. So it has this sacrificial flavor as well, unfortunately, in the London chart. Now, if we look at the transcendental celestial objects, there are quite a few. On the angles, especially because remember, this is only for London. So if you live elsewhere, you need to relocate the chart, and you will get different transcendental celestial objects simply because their orb is 1 degree. So if the ascendant moves only 1 degree, you won't have these. You will have another set. On the ascendant Venus, you have Apophis, which is the snake that swallowed the sun. Total destruction, total disaster. One of the significators of the cataclysm. Hypatia, which is a very smart feminine. She was the last librarian of the Library of Alexandria, which contained all the knowledge of that age, and it was burned to the ground, and she was murdered. Also, there's Karma and Alicanto and Algol. Alicanto was conjunct the sun, and a couple of days, 2 days, actually 5 days later, 6 days later, sorry, it was conjunct on the 16th with the sun, and now Venus is almost conjunct, but this is on the ascendant. So Alicanto is on the ascendant, greed. And Algol, which is the beta star of Perseus, Perseus, and it's one of the it's a very strong feminine world. It is the I know it has a very bad press because by definition, just for you to know and remember, a star cannot bring something bad. We can utilize it in a bad way, but a star is always special traits and special energies, higher dimensional worlds. And Algol is the healing world for very negative and difficult feminine lives, and also a preparation world for the strong feminine. So that's on the ascendant with Venus. On the IC, you have Apollo, the sun god, Metis, wisdom, and Procyon, which is a very bright star in Canis Major. This is what I didn't remember. Canis Major, and it is a bright star. It's a zero magnitude star, but it is overshadowed by the brightest star in the night sky, which is Sirius. So Procyon shows that you can excel, but you may not be the best one. Even if you're very, very good, someone might overshadow you, and you need to learn to excel in the shadow. On the midheaven, you have Arakot, which is an Indian mythology figure. It means overcast skies, and it usually is linked to either the relevance, the revealing of something secret that was hidden so far, and all of a sudden it becomes imminent. And this is on the midheaven, and this is exactly what I'm hoping to get out of these couple of days between the 16th and the 20th. Those 4 or 5 days should somehow reveal the true nature of the powers that be and what we can do. That's really what I'm hoping for. And on the descendant, you have two distinctly different TNOs, Deucalion and Deucalion. Deucalion is, well, they're not distinctly different, but Deucalion is the survival energy and being chosen, and Zevanna is the power of elementals and nature and nature protection. So not environmental protection and all kinds of green stupidity, but true nature and creation protection. That's what it is linked to. And the rest we already know. The North Node is Mars is conjunct Alpheratz, and Aries has Requiem. No longer Cerberus moved away. Okay, and there's also a Sun-Sedna conjunction. This is the last of the conjunctions for a while, and this occurs at 21:36 in the evening, right after sunset on May 20th. Earlier, the sun is moving into Gemini at 2:00 p.m. So that is entering into this energy, and soon, a couple of hours later, it is conjunct Sedna, creation through dissection. So that is the end of this pattern. And as you can see, again, it's a distinctly different chart. You have the moon up in the 10th house at the end of Libra. You may remember that we set off at 1 degree Libra with the supergalactic center, and now the moon is ready to move into Scorpio. So during this entire time of 2.5, almost 3 days, we had the moon in Libra, the energy of diplomacy and balance. And there is a complex, energetic, and dissociate planetary picture with just lots of dissociate energies. And again, dissociate means that they are not working the way they should. Everything is crooked. Everything is not what it seems to be. The aspect itself might be very, very tight, even tighter than normal, but the energy is not what it is. So this is what we have in this space-time moment. There is a dissociate kite, and you may remember a kite is a grand trine with a harmony triangle, and it's made up by the Sedna Sun conjunction at the very, very 0 degree Gemini, Astrea, which moved into Aries. So here we have the sextile in a perfect energy. Trine Pallas Athena, which moved back into Scorpio. Again, you have it perfectly, and Neptune. So what happens here is the Astrea Pallas Athena square. Trine is a square energy. It's actually a fixed square energy. So this is where the energy is getting crooked. And there's also a dissociate harmony triangle between Sun Sedna, Neptune, and Pluto. And here the dissociate energy is Neptune because it's still in Pisces. So actually this sextile is a square energy, Gemini and Pisces. There's also a dissociate T-square involving the moon which is at the end of Libra, Astrea, which is at the beginning of Leo. So this square is a sextile energy, and Pluto, which is also in Aquarius. So actually, the Astrea Pluto opposition is a true opposition energy because it's Leo and Aquarius. It's the moon. So you have the square here, but the moon Pluto square is actually a trine energy because both are in air signs. And then a couple of dissociate engines. Again, with engines, you have a square, a trine, and a quincunx. And usually you can tell by the trine, and so what element the trine is in, and by the square, what modality the square is, what sort of engine it is. But in this case, when it's dissociate, you can't, because there's no underlying energy there to distinguish it. So those are the patterns for us to watch. And by the end of these couple of days, I'm hoping to know more. And not just me, because I do pay a lot of attention to what's going on. I read everything. I try to try to get as many sources as possible, not just like legacy media, but alternative sources as well. And I try to understand what is happening in the world. Clearly, what we see is the agony of the United States as a superpower, which doesn't mean it's the end of it. Unfortunately, the agony could go on for 20 years. And if it goes on for 20 years, what we will see is that they will become more and more irrational, and they would like to have more conflicts because that is fueling the military industrial complex. And this is the way to make money. And they need money to survive. And that's what they are going to do. How Europe is going to survive this, I have no idea. Because at the moment, they have shot themselves. We shot ourselves in the lung, so to speak. Not the foot. No longer the foot, because with the foot you simply can't move or you can't run. But a lung wound means that you're slowly dying. That's what is happening to Europe, unfortunately. Well, hopefully something will be revealed during these couple of days, and hopefully the people will understand what it is. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.